أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والضحى والليل إذا سجى، ما ودعك ربك وما قلى، وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. Mu'minina mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Condolences on the martyrdom anniversary of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and the martyrdom of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal salawat wa tahiyyat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the opportunity to be amongst their sincere lovers and followers. Grant us the opportunity to visit them in Medina, visit Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and in Baqiyah in Medina, visit Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and grant us their shafa'ah, their intercession in this world, to live like them, and in the hereafter to be near them, inshaAllah. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam in a hadith describes the musab, the calamity of the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He says to one of his companions, he says, if you are struck with any kind of calamity, trials in life, any calamity, any loss, in usibta bi musibatin fi nafsika aw fi malika aw fi waladik. He says, if you are struck with a musibah, with a trial, with a test, with a calamity of some loss within yourself, could be in one's health or could be in one's wealth, and perhaps the first one referring to his health, because the second one he says aw fi malika, or in your wealth. So the initial one, if one is struck with health issues, complications, problems, or in your wealth, which is another kind of trial, or in your children. Perhaps the more difficult one would be if one has a problem in terms of health complications or a loss of a child. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect the children of mu'minina mu'minat. These trials are very difficult. Yet he says, therefore remember, if you are struck with such trials, then think of or remember a greater musibah, a greater trial and calamity, and that perhaps is what will bring peace, what will give you some sort of basically lighten the weight of the musibah and alleviate some of your pains. It'll be like consoling you and giving you some peace and some level of being satisfied with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you in terms of trials. Rida biqada'ik, knowing that it is smaller than this greater musibah. And he says, فَاذْكُرْ مُصَابِكَ بِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمْ. Remember your trial not the trial of his family, the family of Rasulullah, your own trial of the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, because all of the creations, فَإِنَّ الْخَلَائِقَ, all of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have not been given a calamity that is weightier or heavier than or that is similar to the musiba بمثله قط, to the musiba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have never ever been struck with such a calamity. In other words, the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for those who know, for those who understand, we we may refer to them as the people with a heart, the people with understanding, the people who are connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. They recognize that that loss is the greatest. They recognize that there's no loss like the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In his ziyarah we recite, أصبنا بك يا حبيب قلوبنا فما أعظم المصيبة بك. We were struck with your loss, Ya Rasulullah, O the beloved of our hearts. What a great calamity. فما أعظم المصيبة. It is a musibah because we do not have that revelation, the support of wahi anymore. And it's musibah because we don't have you. وَحَيْثُ فَقَدْنَاكَ. In the ziyarah we recite that we have lost you, Ya Rasulullah. The loss of Rasulullah amongst us, the loss of the mercy to the worlds, rahmatan lil alameen, amongst us. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he describes him as the wabil, as the heavy rain that comes down and allows the vegetation and the earth to be revived and the life to come out of it, the vegetations to grow out of it, and so on. He says he was like that to the worlds. He is rahmatan lil alameen. He is the purpose or the reason of the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore the loss of Rasulullah is the greatest, in fact the greatest loss for all of the believers. It should be perceived like that for us if we are amongst the believers, if we have an understanding of who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to our level, to our degree. Otherwise, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he says, for me it is like the weightiest of mountains have been put on my shoulders with your loss, Ya Rasulullah, and I would not be able to handle it if it wasn't for your command of patience, of sabr, that you commanded us to be patient. Therefore I am able to continue, I'm able to perform my duties and continue and go on with my life. Otherwise my tears would never stop and my grief would never cease and would never finish. We need to understand that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the greatest gift to humanity and to us as the nation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his loss is definitely the greatest loss. The loss of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt after him is in line with the loss of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's definitely greater than them. Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, when he describes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says he is our master and we are only servants to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ana abdun min abid Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. And so how do we ask, what do we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this musibah, and how do we try and recover from this musibah, from this calamity, from this loss, as we call it jubran, in the term jubran, to when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fix and basically save our situation, or save us and fix our situation and better our circumstances in this musibah. Jubran comes from the term, or the mending or the healing of bones. In fact, if something is broken and you fix it in, if a bone is healing, that is the term that is often used. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this calamity for a recompense, for some reward for the patients in this calamity. But what do we ask for? And what is the jubran of this musibah? And how do we heal as individuals and collectively as the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The very simple, and I want to keep it brief and finish with this, the very simple answer, my dear brothers and sisters, is to stick to his wasiyah when he says, I am leaving two weighty things amongst you, the book, Kitab Allah, the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and my family. If we follow the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Holy Quran and strengthen our bond with the Holy Quran, that will help us heal. And if we follow the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the purified progeny, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'in, the Ma'sumeen salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'in, if we follow them, we are certainly going to be benefiting from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, even when he is no longer with us, and we will benefit from his wasiyah, and we will heal and gain the jubran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the opportunity to be amongst the sincere lovers and followers of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhim ajma'in, the Prophet and his family. We ask him to make us amongst those who listen to what's said and follow what's best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.